Hello and welcome to yet another freaking Genshin video. Today we are taking a look at our third to fourth Dendro Husbando. This time it's everyone's baby girl, Kaveh. He is a Dendro Claymore whose main role is a Bloom driver, but he can be used in other teams, although not super ideal there. Overall starting thoughts is that Kaveh is weird to build, and he has some pretty fun teams that you can slot him in, and that's about it. Unfortunately, Bloom teams are a team archetype that sounds simple to build and execute in theory, but the more you dive in, the more hellish they become. So let's see what Kaveh does to help you out with this stuff. I shall do a small mention to his attacks because they are very unique Claymore attacks, in the sense that Kaveh doesn't even touch the freaking Claymore, he uses his toolbox Merak to do all the work. But his animations are really nice, and they even made the spinning charge have a unique animation that feels very kind of like asserting dominance, walking through enemies, just spinning the Claymore like not giving a fuck, because again, Kaveh is not even touching the Claymore. Onto the skill then. It is a simple skill where Kaveh uses Merak to draw a circle around him, dealing dendro damage and also instantly exploding any bloom cores that the skill touches. It is a small cooldown, so it is kind of spammable, but it doesn't generate a crazy amount of particles, it's around 2 to 3. And while it does have some pretty interesting scaling, it doesn't do that much damage. As for Kaveh's burst, when activated, it also explodes all bloom cores next to Kaveh, and it also gives Kaveh a dendro infusion, while also increasing the damage that bloom cores do when they erupt. As for Kaveh's Ascension talent, his first one is that whenever Kaveh gets damaged by a bloom core, Burgeon does count here, he gets healed by 300% of his EM, and this can happen every 0.5 seconds or half a second. I don't know why I say it like that. This talent is a core part of some builds, and I can tell you it is insane seeing Kaveh heal for 3k per core burst. It's so funny. He heals more than my Yao Yao. It's insane. As for his second Ascension talent, it's that after activating Kaveh's burst, your normal attacks give you 25 EM up to 4 stacks, so it's basically 100 extra EM. This is nice for extra bloom damage if Kaveh created the bloom core, because both his skill and his burst don't give Kaveh bloom ownership, so his EM doesn't count there. And it is also nice for extra healing through the other talent. I mentioned normal attacks, by that I mean every attack. Normal attack, charge attack, plunging attack, all of them give you these stacks. As for constellations, Kaveh is perfect at C0 to be honest, and his constellations just make him slightly better. There isn't a constellation that is super needed, no changes his gameplay that much, but I guess we can mention all of them, just a small mention. His first constellation increases his dendro resistance and gives him some healing bonus for 3 seconds after activating your skill, which is nice to tank the cores you explode and heal back more HP. That's about it. His second one gives him some attack speed during his burst, but being a Claymore character, you won't really notice it, plus it doesn't matter to his application or damage. It's not really something that Kaveh needed. His fourth constellation increases his own bloom damage, which has the same problem all bloom teams have, which is bloom ownership, so unless you're running something like double Hydro with Xingqiu and Yellen, this count doesn't matter much because Kaveh most likely did not always make the bloom core. And his last constellation, his sixth one, gives him an extra attack every 3 seconds during his burst that deals a percentage of Kaveh's attack, and also explodes all bloom cores within this attack AoE. This really doesn't matter because you don't really build Kaveh with attack, especially since his previous talents and constellations also focus on bloom damage where you need EM. So, it's not really a crazy constellation. Again, it's not a C6 that changes his gameplay a lot. Like Faruzan or Toma with his burst or with his buff or anything else. Like again, these constellations are pretty weak, but Kaveh is again perfect at C0, so again, they're just extras, not needed constellations. And this is a good way to move to artifacts for Kaveh, where get ready because there is no definitive answer to the question, what do I build on Kaveh? Kaveh can slot into all kinds of teams, but his main team of Bloom and Bloom-related stuff has such a huge problem with Bloom ownership that it's not necessary it's not super set in stone that give Kaveh Bloom-related artifacts. So, well, pick and choose one from the ones I will mention, and you won't really notice any differences. First is Flower of Paradise Lost or Gilded for maximum bloom damage. Good luck is the only thing I will say because of bloom ownership. Right, these two sets give you extra bloom damage through either pure EM or the buff from Flower of Paradise Lost, but again, good luck with bloom ownership. You can also run him as the Deepwood Holder for bloom in something like Nilu Bloom, but his attacks, his Claymore attacks, don't have crazy AoE capabilities, so it's not really the best, and again, not the one that everybody will recommend you. You can maybe try a 4-star set like Instructor for EM or Exile for Energy, but it's not fully recommended, and you will see why when we see main stats to hunt, really. Lastly, for sets is the meme build of Ocean-Hued Clam, where because Kaveh heals so much through his first talent, he can stack the bubble quite a bit, and it's kind of fun. So let's look at the main stats for Kaveh. Usually, you're gonna try and get as much EM as possible while also making sure that you have sufficient ER so that Kaveh always has his burst. And this is why the 4-star sets are kind of not recommended, because with 4-star artifacts, you might not have tons of EM to heal a lot or sufficient energy recharge to get your burst back up. So the usual is, for main stats, is energy recharge, elemental mastery with an EM weapon. So, you balance it out, or triple elemental mastery with an ER weapon. You can try healing bonus circlet if you're running the clam build, but EM is also very comparable. Also, what's the difference between like 3,000, like 4-ish thousand at maximum in this clam build? You won't notice it. I guess you can maybe give him more damage-oriented attacks, artifacts, like a classic DPS build of attack, elemental damage, crit. If you want to maximize his damage as a Deepwood driver, right, you don't care about his bloom damage or anything else, just get as much damage from him as possible, you can do that. And yeah, like this can work in like Nilu Bloom, or if you really want to do it, play him in the spread team. Right, use that in a spread team with like attack elemental damage crit or EM elemental damage crit. If you so wish to, I don't know, Quick Bloom anyone? Maybe. So yeah, with all of that, like so many recommendations, you can see that Kaveh is seriously weird to build. Unlike somebody like, our other bloom related character Nilu, where you want to max her HP for her buff, this isn't the case for Kaveh because he doesn't have something like that, and it becomes very confusing because of this. And I guess I can mention some team compositions here, because we usually mention them before artifacts. Although again, there aren't any that are super recommended, any that are like, oh yes, this is definitely what you should run Kaveh in, it's one of the greatest options. The one that I have chosen to run is a Burgeon team with Yao Yao as the Deepwood Holder and Slide and, healing. Kaveh with Ocean-Hued Clam for the memes. Xingqiu on a normal build with ER attack, Sacrificial Sword and Emblem of Severed Fate. And then a full EM Toma with Gilded Dreams. This team is fun to play, but I have to mention that I am running 2 Favonius Lances, both on Yao Yao and Toma, because... Well, Yao Yao is there. Yao Yao has the Favonius Lance because she's usually on a Alhaitham team, which likes the Favonius Lance. But it also is nice here for battering Kaveh. Fav Lance on Toma 100% because A, I'm running him full EM on the artifacts, and B, because Toma has severe ER requirements. And also Xingqiu has Sack Sword, so he generates a lot of particles with the double skill. So yeah, if I didn't run these, the energy recharge requirements for both Kaveh and Toma are pretty severe, so this team wouldn't work. So yeah, you're gonna need to hunt some seriously good energy recharge and EM artifacts for both Toma and Kaveh to fulfill their energy recharge needs. No need for Yao Yao, you can see the review on her. Xingqiu, just a Sack Sword is enough, really. Other than that, I guess run double Hydro and double Dendro to guarantee Kaveh gets some more blooms and ownership. So yeah, there's Nilu Bloom where Kaveh can be a driver and also max out Ocean-Hued Clam a bit more than the Burgeon team. But again, none of these teams are Kaveh's like best teams, and there's a lot of variations to these teams. So again, there's plenty you can try. You can go spread with Fischl, Beidou, and other kinds of Electro characters, but nothing is again set in stone. It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. Let's just move on to weapons, which are much more simple. Two things you should be looking at, and that's elemental mastery and energy recharge. We mentioned those with on the artifacts section, right? So with that, Favonius is good. The free mailed flower is pretty good. 4 tons of EM, right? It has like 100 plus on the base stat, on the sub stat, and then 96 if you are 5'd it. Pain Slasher is, I guess, a decent one for... It gives the same EM as mailed flower without the buff, but it does give you a damage buff, although where exactly are you gonna use this damage buff? In like spread, quick blue? You see, it's okay for the EM, but it's not better than mailed flower strictly for EM. And again, the damage buff is not consistent, let's say. Sacrificial Sword is interesting, but I would guess not better than something like Favonius for the energy stuff. You know, it gives energy recharge, but proccing it with just one skill activation can be kind of weird. You can do some attacks, but depending on the team, maybe you just don't have the time to do attacks. It's weird. Again, an interesting thing. You can try it out and see how it works, but again, most likely not that better than Favonius. The Inazuma Craftable Claim, or the Nagamasa, can be a decent choice, but it's not worth spending 5 billets to make. If you already had it because you were running, I don't know, Beidou or somebody else with it, then sure, because it has ER and it gives you energy recharge, like the Kitane Cross Spear, it drains energy and then builds it up. But again, 5 billets, if you don't have it, it's not worth it compared to other claymores, or just wasting them. Just don't do it. The Makeda Aquamarine, the Sumeru gacha weapon, is also a decent choice, but it buffs attack instead of ER like Seaforce. And looking at Kaveh's teams, your teammates and Kaveh himself care more about the EM and the ER, that the attack buff is pretty much useless. Right. It's unfortunate. Maybe in spread, but yeah, not crazy there either. And last for the 4 stars is the Forest Regalia, the Sumeru craftable. It's a decent choice, but I've heard many people struggling to pick up the leaves that these weapons spawn, so in my honest opinion, just use the mailed flower if you have it, or Favonius. It's, again, not worth wasting the 5 billets if you're gonna have the inconsistency of struggling to pick up the leaves. I've heard like big bosses or big enemies like Ruin Graders can make it super hard and basically impossible to share the buff with these leaves, so again, Fav, mailed flower sound better in there. For 5 stars, we don't have that many choices. Mainly it's Skyward Pride for the energy recharge, but there are better 4-star options. Fav is much better than it. All the other 5 stars are damage focused, so unless you plan on playing Spread Kaveh, then don't even consider them. Don't even look at them. And that's it for Kaveh. It's pretty short, but I have had much fun trying out the Burgeon team that I mentioned before, and actually I cannot wait to get my Toma to level 90 and potentially try this team in the Abyss. Other than that, closing thoughts is that Kaveh is a nice character. Everybody wished for him to be a Dendro buffer to pair him with Alhaitham for, their relationship and the roommate shit, and you know why. But unfortunately, we got the exact opposite. He's fine. His kit is perfectly fine. He does have a bit of energy recharge, energy issues with the burst having an 80 energy cost and his skill not generating that many particles. The main problem is Bloom. Unless we find something more better than Bloom, maybe we get a future character, Hydro or Dendro character, that has a talent that says that the character that is on the field, right, the character who's on the field, when the Bloom cores explode, the EM that the Bloom cores use for damage is the character who's on the field. That can make it much easier to build Kaveh. Maybe we have something that it's like, I don't know, that better op. Again, it's just better if we get a character that can push Bloom ownership to an active character, or the character who has the highest EM in the party, and makes Bloom ownership more consistent, then Kaveh is gonna be much better and much easier to build. And also you're gonna be like, okay, use Kaveh and this character, and then just use 2 flex slots. That's that sort of thing, right? If we get that, it's gonna be amazing. But hell no, there's no way MiHoYo's gonna make such a really good design. I bet you. Or they're gonna have severe energy recharge issues, right? I don't know. I hope for something like that. But again, try the Burgeon team. It's seriously super fun. Full EM Toma with a Favonius Lance most likely, or maybe Kitane Spear and an energy recharge Sands. Make sure he's C4 at the very least, else you're not running this team. Xingqiu or Yellen. Xingqiu is nice running Sacrificial Sword. He generates lots of particles, that's why. Yao or Nahida for Deep Hood, buffs or other kinds of things. And Kaveh as the driver with Ocean Hued Clam. And seriously, it's so funny seeing Kaveh tank enemy attacks because he's healing through the blooms. Like, there's Yao in that team, sure, but Kaveh is healing 3k for the blooms. It's so much fun. So much fun. Up next for this series is, I don't know, because until the Fontaine patches begin, we're not getting any new characters that interest me. Like, I don't care about Kirara, and apparently in 3.8, we're not getting any new characters, so we won't be back for a while, most likely. Like the video and sub to help the channel. Follow me on Twitch for daily streams. This voiceover was recorded while streaming on Twitch, plus the background footage was also recorded while streaming, so we have lots of fun. We can talk lots of Genshin stuff and other things, and also follow me on Twitter for other random things in life. I guess I post things. See ya then.